like if anybody tells you you can't do something and you feel negative because of that, or you feel pulled down because of that they can't do it, or they would like you not to be able to do it, it doesn't mean you can do it.
Yeah.
Maybe you can do it, maybe you can't. But don't get knocked down by anybody else what they believe you can or can't do, because when anybody's, it's like if somebody, when people look at each other, they're looking at mirrors.
Yeah.
So when somebody says something really nice to you, it means they've recognised the good in themselves, so they can recognise the good in you.
Oh, wow.
Would you be going to having a reading if you weren't doing this? I imagine the answer would be no.
I feel like I'd probably be a bit more nervous about it, yeah.
Right,
So.
right. Because sometimes I do find that when people come here because they've got an ulterior motive,
Yeah.
whether I know the ulterior motive or not,
okay.
the reading doesn't necessarily flow quite so well because they're not really connecting the way they would when they really want to know something.
Yeah, okay.
So, right, now, I've got the clock. Have you got a ring or something I can hold?
Does it need to be some sort
Or
of
keys
jewelry?
that only you touch?
Keys? Yeah, I have keys. Yeah, these are my keys.
Okay. Right, so I may or may not pick those up. Okay. If I ask you any questions, yes, no, brief answer.
Okay.
It's like if I say if it's yellow, you can say yes or no, or it's red. But it doesn't help when you say, used to be yellow, but it's now green with pink spots.
Okay.
But sometimes the pink spots. I mean, this is what some people do, you know. If you let them go on, 15 minutes later, they're still not giving the answer to the question.
Okay.
But, okay, so, and I have a minute or two in silence while I tune into you. And you're right-handed.
Yes.
And which birth sign are you?
Gemini.
Which is which month?
June.
Oh, right, so you're just 25.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, right, you're doing very well for yourself then, aren't you?
Thank you.
Okay. So just relax. Don't stare at me. I mean, by all means look at me, but don't stare at me. You know what staring means. Because otherwise it upsets my energy field and upsets my ability to communicate with you, that's all.
Okay.
So I have a couple of minutes in silence when I tune into you. Now, interestingly for you, I'm getting very good energy. I say interestingly, and by good I'm meaning happy energy. And that's probably because of your years. I don't get a lot of very young people. People usually have to get older to have enough problems to want to come to see me. But I feel as if you've got a lot of joy of life.
Yeah.
And a lot of hope for the future.
Yeah.
You're not what I mean. I know that some young people have got it's more the teenagers got really upset by the COVID stuff because they can't see a future or they couldn't. But my feeling here is that you've just got a good life force that's churning, and you have all sorts of ideas of projects. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Things you'd like to do, places you'd like to go, things you'd like to start. And as you seem to be good at filming, have you done a film course? Is that how you know how to do filming?
Yes.
Or did you just teach yourself?
Self-study, yeah.
Self-study?
Yeah, just taught myself.
Right. Well, you're one of those geniuses then, if you could teach yourself. But I feel as if you've got a lot of energy now I feel that between now and 30 are important years for you.
Okay.
And that makes a lot of sense because after 30 you might be thinking of settling down or having children, at which point you can't run around the world. But I feel as if you've got all sorts of ideas that you might like to put into action, if possible by 30, and if not possible by 30, definitely by 32.
Okay.
I feel you're also good at connections, as in good at making friends, or good at meeting people when you mightn't have done too much travelling, obviously, because no one could travel the last couple of years, but I mean, I don't mean 2 weeks in the sun.
Okay.
I mean going off for a prolonged time or a reason. I think that you will always travel with a purpose.
Yeah.
I think you won't be just going to lie on the beach. There'll be something you'll be wanting to film and make a film out of, or do something with, or connect with. But my sense is that you are good at meeting people, or at networking, that's the word I'm looking for. You're good at networking.
Yeah.
And you're good at getting on with the people that you network with. And I think one of the reasons is you're very polite.
Oh.
That's what, as I personally noticed, you don't push the person. And therefore, one thinks, oh my God, I haven't got in touch with Melissa. I better do it now. But the person that wants something done now, you don't bother. It's 6 weeks later. Of course, they will have found somebody else, you know. But and I feel that it's like what I'm feeling is that I'm telling you to keep your eyes open. Now, I don't for one moment think they're shut.
Okay.
But you will have opportunities for networking, not necessarily for making money, though there may be money in some of it. But possibly for getting yourself quite well known on a networking market. Is that keep your eyes open for things which will happen in a changing world. They're not with us now. But as the world is changing, new roles will be needed, or new connections will be needed. And I feel that you might think, oh, I'd like that idea. Perhaps I could go and make a film of whatever. And, you know, you could, obviously you've got to fly to somewhere, you've got someone to pay your flight. And then you get the people that you're going to feed you. You know, you don't really have too many expenses by the end of the day. So it's like, keep your eyes open, there will be opportunities, that's the message.
Okay.
And I feel the next 5 years are fairly crucial. Now, I don't do world prophecies myself. I've never done them. And everybody that I've looked at or watched that's been doing world prophecies since the COVID started, the only thing I can say about a lot of them is they have a 100% zero rate of success. So when somebody says something, I know it won't happen. It's fairly helpful that way. But there was one person in the beginning that there was something sweet about her, which was probably your age. But I mean, she wasn't sweet just because she was your age. She was just a really nice person. But I do that. The next few years, in a way, are going to be crucial. It's like the old world is ending; it's dying. I don't know how much you're aware of that.
Okay.
And a new world is being born, but the new world is like hidden, like the baby in the womb.
Okay.
So you can't actually see it. And the new world is to do with love and caring and peace. And everybody caring about each other. And it's a new world that's coming. And some people expect it to one day happen overnight. It makes much more sense to me that it comes slowly.
Yeah.
The only way I pick up stuff about the future is more vague bands of what feels right to me.
Yeah.
I've given up listening to a lot of fiction of numerous people I found who were sort of way out with good reputations, and still they started at the COVID time, and then they lost it, if you ask me. But yeah, it's like keep yourself free of babies in the next 7 years.
Okay.
If you can. Possibly keep yourself free of a husband as well, because they can be a nuisance. And it's like by keeping yourself on the ball. Now, your day job, is that monotonous?
Yes, quite.
I mean, I don't feel you hate it.
I don't.
But I feel as if it doesn't particularly give you joy. You just do it. Get the money so you can do everything else you want.
Yes.
Well, I feel that before too long, by saying before too long, I don't mean the next few days. I know what people are like when they're 25. But in the next few years, you should be able to be making, I don't feel you'll be making a living from filming. But filming will be part of it. I think something to do with the networking that you will be doing will be giving you a living.
Okay.
And the filming will be a sideline of it. So I don't think you'll be paid for the films, but the films may be put on a website, and the website might be doing good works, and you get money that way.
Okay.
But as such, it's like in the new world that's coming, it's not making the money that's important, it's being happy that's important, being happy and healthy. And even I've known people in my life who have lived a really good life and they never earned a penny. I knew a man in India. He did more globe-trotting than anybody else I knew. He never earned any money ever because he'd taken a vow of poverty. But what would happen is, because he had a reputation, Rome would ring him up when he was in somewhere at the back and beyond in India, or probably write to him actually, because ringing up India was never great fun in those days, and ask him if he'd come and do a project for 2 years in Italy. They would pay his flight, his train journey to an airport, his flight from the airport to Rome or wherever. They'd pick him up, feed him, give him somewhere to stay, his own room, give him some pocket money so he could, buy sweets and toothpaste and stuff like that. And they told him at the end of the 2 years they'd fly him wherever he wanted to go to in the world.
Oh, wow.
So he wasn't actually paid for the work. But he lived a very good life. This went on for years. He was always all over the place. So it's like if you get all your expenses met and you're having fun, what more? You don't need any money. It's like what often happens is somebody will say, but you do need a bit of, petty cash for the moment. You might say, yes, well, here's 50 quid, But I feel that if you keep your eye on the ball, indirectly, you will find things that you can do, because I feel that you're an alert young lady. You've got your eye on lots of balls. You know what you can do, and you know what you might be able to stretch to do. But you're also fairly aware of what you bloody well can't do, and that is helpful. It's like you could have a very good life. And as for, it's like, what I'm seeing is not saying it definitely will happen, but if you would like this, it can happen. That's what it's saying. And I feel that you could easily meet a man in your early 30s to settle down with, who, my sense is, he's not English and doesn't live in England. That you meet him somewhere else.
Okay.
And could be Australia. You mightn't meet him in Australia, you might meet him in Timbuktu, but he happens to be visiting the same time you are. But it's like, and you have got to learn a little bit more about listening to your intuition. I feel that you listen to it with many things that you do, but not with everything.
Yeah.
And if something feels wrong, don't do it.
Okay.
It's like if you're asked out for a date and you're afraid, you need to look into yourself. Are you afraid because you're afraid of strange men? Because you've got a fear problem you've never dealt with? Or is something telling you this is bad news? Now, if you've got a problem with it, like if you are, say, for example, afraid of strange men, then you won't know which is your intuition and which is your problem. You then need to have the problem dealt with so that you can listen to the intuition. But a lot of the time you think, no, there's, why do I not want to go to this restaurant this evening? I like its food and I feel like not going. You don't go and then it blows up, and you find out why you didn't want to go. I remember once, I had 2 ways to get to the centre of London. There was the near way and the far way. Or not much walking and lots of walking.
Yeah.
And I got this strong feeling to do the lots of walking one. Being blatantly lazy, I chose the no walking one. Get to the station, wait for a train, and then find out the trains are out. And there aren't any. So by the time I've done the walking and gone to the other one, of course I'm late.
Yeah.
So it's like, listen to, and when you have to make choices, something I learnt by chance, and I'm teaching you this, because it's very good, and saves you a lot of money from ringing up clairvoyance and asking questions, is that you lie down or sit down and put both your hands over your stomach, and then you think of like, if you don't, for the sake of argument, you don't know whether or not to go to something in the pool. Just give me an example. You know where the pool is, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you say, I want to go to Nepal.
Yeah.
And you feel what your stomach feels like the other side of your hands. And you say it 4 or 5 times slowly. I want to go to Nepal. I want to go to Nepal. I want to go to Nepal. And you see what it feels like. Then you say, I don't want to go to Nepal. I don't want to. Again, 4 or 5 times. It's like, don't do it 20 times. You're not trying to hypnotise yourself. But notice how you feel. And you're likely to feel one is comfortable and one is not comfortable. The not comfortable one is the one you mustn't do.
Okay.
Because your body knows. So my feeling here is that the energy is, you've got a lot of life force energy. I have discovered that people in their 20s are trying to go forward. If you're wanting therapy or healing to sort out past problems, I would usually say wait until at least 27, probably 30. Because you can't go forward and look back at the same time. The energy doesn't work that way. And now I feel that the next 5 years is the time for you to make connections. And having made them, then you'll be able to fly with them later. The next 5, make as many connections or as many networking with as many different people as you can, without getting exhausted.
Yeah.
And keep your eye open for things which you could do that you hadn't thought of doing.
Okay.
Because I feel, and make certain you've got backup for email addresses and phone numbers. As one of my cousins once said, pen and paper works nicely. And you can't lose it unless you have house fire or something, heaven forbid, touch wood it doesn't, and all the rest of it. It's my sense is that you will make the connections and the ideas, but they will flower later. They won't flower between 25 and 30.
Okay.
That would be when you're building a structure that you don't know quite what type of structure you're building. Or you might think you're building a little tent.
Okay.
Without realising you're building a palace. And then, later on, I feel that you will have all the connections. So if you so it's like you can fly in life. You can do incredibly well. And the main message here is keep your eye on the ball. And don't get too exhausted.
Okay.
Right, yeah. Okay. So just because I've ended that bit, I just want to see if anything came with the keys. Now the keys is saying something about your mother. Has your mother touched these keys? Are you worried about your mother? Or are you not ringing her up?
I will see her tomorrow. Yeah, she's good, I think.
Right.
She has touched them, I think, yeah.
She has touched them. I'm getting some energy about your mother. I don't actually get the feeling there's anything particularly wrong with her.
Yeah.
But I think she likes you being in touch.
Okay.
Because all mothers take a very long time to let go of baby bird.
Oh.
They're not like mummy birds that kick them out after a while. Some mothers do. I have met people who've been kicked out at 18, 20. One even was kicked out at 16. But, and some are still living at home at 40 and 50. I think they've had it that lot. But I feel as if there's nice energy with your mother, and I think there's nice energy between you. But I think that even when you get very busy, always remember to send her a postcard if you haven't got time to ring her up.
Okay.
People like postcards. I've observed this over years because I've got a relative that used to behave very badly.
Okay.
But when he went on holiday, he would send everybody a postcard. People, oh, isn't he a darling? Isn't he sweet? I thought it's amazing what they've forgiven. Thanks to one postcard that just said love and his name on it. No message, their address, love and his name. And there's something in postcards, and I've told clients this over the years, and they've found, yes, it works. Like if you send an email, it's easy enough to press delete. You lose it. Same with a text message. A letter, yes, but I mean, you read it and you put it aside, and you're going to read it again later and you don't. A postcard, prop it up somewhere.
Yeah.
Every time you walk past it, you look at it and you remember your loved one sent you that.
Yeah.
So a postcard has a type of energy that no other method of communication has.
Yeah.
Other than sitting there and talking to them, of course. But so it's like the family. I found that cash has an energy that credit cards and bank transfers don't have. I discovered this in India, that when you would go into looking at scarves, they would sit you there and they would show you one scarf after the other, and they'd give you Coca-Cola, not Coke, which everybody would think which everybody would thought had been everyone used to think they injected the bottle, got it in somehow, some buying energy that made you buy something you didn't want. So you'd have a Coke or a cup of tea, no matter what you had, they'd get this pile in front of you, and they would start to take them off. And they would say, if you like it, put it aside. I mean, tell me, and I'll put it in a pile. And your energy was so built up, thanks to what they put in the Coke or the cup of tea, so everybody thought, that you'd end up buying 3 or 4 pieces you didn't want to buy in the first place. And I found the way around this was, by all means, go in with a credit card, but don't go in with cash. You tell them you haven't got any cash, they don't care, because they don't believe you. They know you can get cash. And it doesn't have the same effect on you. When you might put a few bits aside and say, well, I'll think about it and come back tomorrow with the cash. Oh, well, take credit cards. No, I haven't got, you can lie about the credit cards. And they will lie about the fact what you want to buy won't be there tomorrow, because they will have sold it somewhere else. But it's like, if you really do like it, you can buy it on a credit card or come back the next day. But I found that if you had cash on you, you would have bought those things whether you wanted them or not. There was and I always, if I've got cash, I feel rich. I can have masses of money in the bank account and no cash and I'm feeling poor. I can have no money in the bank account and lots of cash and I'm feeling fine. There's an energy with cash. So there's one of the reasons I hope they don't get rid of cash. I'd have to stop past some and just look at it. But there's good energy between your... Yes, a postcard. That was almost wrong.
Yes.
Yeah. Like, when you get very busy later, just send a... And what I say to some people is that if you can't face remembering to send a postcard once a week, you go postcard shopping and you buy 52 of them. You write your mother's address on all 52 of them. It takes a while, of course.
Yeah.
And then you write love Sylvia, or whatever your name is, on all 52 of them. In large letters, so it doesn't look as if you haven't filled up any spaces. You don't put love Sylvia tiny letters at the bottom. Then once a week you post one.
Yeah.
And people have found this work. It works a gem. It's like, if anybody tells you you can't do something, and you feel negative because of that, or you feel pulled down because of that they can't do it, or they would like you not to be able to do it. It doesn't mean you can do it.
Yeah.
Maybe you can do it, maybe you can't. But don't get knocked down by anybody else what they believe you can or can't do. Because when anybody's... It's like when people look at each other, they're looking at mirrors.
Yeah.
So when somebody says something really nice to you, it means they've recognised the good in themselves, so they can recognise the good in you.
Oh, wow.
When somebody says something nasty to you, it means they have not recognised the bad in themselves, and they're throwing it at you. And, I've had people that... It's quite funny, actually. You listen to them yell their heads off non-stop at you. When they've finished, sometimes on paper, sometimes on Facebook, or sometimes in person, you wait till they've finished, and then you say, a wonderful description of yourself. I really couldn't have said it better. Because that's what they're doing. They're describing themselves, not you. So I'm just telling you, don't let other people knock you down.
Yeah.
If you've made a mistake at work and you're getting told off by your boss, you know you've made a mistake. You apologise and hopefully everything's over.
Yeah.
But when they're attacking you for something you think you've done well, or you think you've done so-so for someone who's a beginner, and they're telling you you're shit at it, you'll never be any better, and whatever, I'll just wait till they finish and say, thanks for the description of yourself. I'll remember next time I see you. If you don't like it much, and they may say, I was talking about you, and I said, yeah, I know you were talking about yourself. Anyway, I'll leave it there so I have time for the hand and the card.